Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. You're likely still talking about the elections this week. We're not going to focus on the presidential race, partly because the national media is already doing that, and because we record this on Wednesday, November 4th, so the race is still too close to call. What we're going to do is do what we do best on TWILA and keep the discussion local. First, all of Louisiana's congressional incumbents who sought re-election won. Senator Bill Cassidy will serve another 6 years. Congressman Steve Scalise, Cedric Richmond, Clay Higgins, Mike Johnson, and Garrett Graves will stick around for at least another 2. The only contested race is for Louisiana's 5th congressional district, which is the largest row crop district in the country. That seat is currently held by Dr. Ralph Abraham, who chose not to seek re-election. In the December 5th runoff are Abraham's former chief of staff, Luke Letlow, who received 33% of the votes, and State Representative Lance Harris, who received 18% of the votes. Both are Republicans and have ties to agriculture. Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation National Affairs Coordinator Andy Brown says the person who represents Louisiana's 5th congressional district traditionally has a seat on the House Ag Committee, which is about to have some major changes.
There has been quite a bit of shakeup. There's 4 total leadership positions between the 2 chambers, 2 in the Senate, 2 in the House, majority and minority. Out of those 4, 3 have either retired or lost their race. So as you look at the House Ag Committee, there's going to be a change in leadership. There's going to be opportunity for maybe people with little to no tenure to have a bigger role than they may have in years past.
You can find all of the election results for Louisiana on the Secretary of State's website. We'll post a link on our website, twilatv.org. If there were an election for this today, the people of Louisiana would vote unanimously against hurricanes. Unfortunately, that wish has not stopped those tropical systems. We had a late October hit on southeast Louisiana with Hurricane Zeta. TWILA's Neil Melanson traveled to see how the winds hurt the citrus and nursery crops in Plaquemines Parish.
Ben Becknell's fruit stand on the side of Highway 23 has been a fixture in Plaquemines Parish for decades. The fruits and vegetables he supplied the greater New Orleans community have fed generations. However, on October 24th, one of the worst storms Becknell has seen came through. While Katrina and Isaac were more powerful, Hurricane Zeta's timing was worse.
We're harvesting satsumas now, but the oranges and the grapefruit, 2 to 3 weeks away. So which made it the storm worse, because they're the biggest and the heaviest they can be right now, so they fall off easier.
On the surface, you can see from the broken trees what the storm's winds did. On the ground, you can see the real tragedy. 3/4 or more of Becknell's fruit won't ever see the market.
Maybe half, and then the problem we're going to have is probably 1/4 of what's left on that tree is damaged in some kind of way. If it's got any kind of a nick or a thorn punctured the fruit, it's going to eventually get bad and fall off. That'll take 2 to 3 weeks.
In addition to the downed trees and fruit, Becknell still doesn't have power and is running on generators, which is costing him money and fuel. His greenhouses were also damaged, which will be an additional expense ahead of winter. Still, it's the loss of the crop right before harvest that's the worst, according to Wendell Miley, who runs Farm Bureau's program to sell Louisiana products.
It's just, it's a tough thing to see a producer who's right near harvest go through a late season storm that just happened down here in Plaquemines Parish, and it's devastating. It's Mother Nature. She's going to do what she's going to do, but it's really heartbreaking to see them have to deal with this right when they're ready to get their crop out the field.
The picture that is emerging here at Ben Becknell Jr.'s farm in Plaquemines Parish is one of wasted potential. As you can see, these trees on my right and my left, this one here was flung by the winds blowing from south to north. This one on my left is a satsuma tree that was almost ready to go for this year. You can see these satsumas are almost ripe. They'll never get that way, though, as this tree is broken and won't be in production ever again. And that's the picture here at Ben's Place, one of almost harvest that unfortunately will mean he will not see any profits from 2020. Reporting from Plaquemines Parish, I'm Neil Melanson.
This hurricane season has certainly kept ag economists busy trying to calculate all of the effects of this year's storm. Damages from Hurricane Zeta are not yet available, but are likely to add millions to the toll. Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, says so far the total damage to agriculture for all three hurricanes to hit Louisiana is more than $2 billion. Now, some of that damage is hard to calculate because it's not just about what's damaged, but what could have been. Coming into August, Louisiana's rice crop looked to be a record-breaking year. Acreage was up, the growing season was favorable, and the early yields were strong. However, as TWILA's Carl Wiggers shows us, the tropical systems that pummeled the state have taken their toll on rice.
This is what the Vermilion Parish rice crop looked like in July. Fortunately for many rice farmers, they enjoyed excellent yields for the crop, according to LSU Ag Center rice specialist Dustin Harrell.
We were on par to have probably our second highest yielding state average in rice ever. And so that's how good the crop was this year.
Harrell and LSU extension agents across the state estimate that 95% of the rice crop was harvested ahead of Hurricane Laura.
The damage at that time that we estimated was about $28 million worth of damage. That included damage to the rice crop that was still remaining, damage to the ratoon crop, and the biggest damage from Laura was infrastructure.
Infrastructure damage in southwest Louisiana included rice bins, damaged harvest equipment, or structures where that equipment is stored. One farmer lucky enough to finish harvesting his rice ahead of Hurricane Laura was Vermilion Parish farmer Mark Davenport. His above-average first crop was important because he has not been as lucky with his ratoon or second crop, which was maturing as Laura made landfall.
Yeah, second crop was growing during Hurricane Laura, and a lot of the damage was caused during Hurricane Delta.
Because of the high wind, we had shattering of the rice that fell off the panicles. Didn't have as much lodging from a ratoon crop because it's going to stand a little better. Probably about half our ratoon crop has been harvested, and the other half is going to be affected with the yield loss.
Davenport has seen that yield loss in his fields, cutting the crop to half of what it was before Hurricane Delta blew through.
We did harvest before Delta. We harvested about 140 acres, and it yielded very good, I think around 19. And we only harvested 50 acres since Hurricane Delta, and it yielded about half, around 10.
We have reports from some growers that have very little damage. And it's probably just where their field's situated. And the variety that they grew is where we have others that were hit pretty significantly. And on average, those that were hit pretty hard are about 50% or more in some cases yield damage.
While Hurricane Laura was worse for infrastructure, Harrell estimates that Hurricane Delta caused significantly more crop damage to the remaining ratoon crop.
When Laura came, we had pretty much harvested everything in southwest Louisiana, and the ratoon was still too early to do damage. Now, we did have a considerable amount of damage of the first crop in northeast Louisiana. Delta came through, we're ready to harvest our ratoon crop, so all that grain that shattered was lost in the ratoon crop, and that made up the bulk of our damage estimates for Delta.
The estimated damage from LSU is about $24 million. Add that to the $28 million from Hurricane Laura, and that's a huge blow to a crop that is vital to Louisiana culture and cuisine. From Crowley, I'm Carl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
According to the LSU Ag Center, the Louisiana rice crop has a value of about $500 million with 476,000 acres of rice across the state. The Louisiana sweet potato harvest has been plagued by numerous tropical storms. You see a trend here with our stories? As TWILA's Craig Gotro shows us, yields have been good, but would have been better, much better, without those storms.
Laura, Beta, Delta, and Zeta have made their impression on this year's sweet potato harvest. While the damage from the tropical storms has not been extensive, they kept the crop from reaching its potential. Beta and Delta brought nearly 14 inches of rain, delaying the harvest and causing some rot in the fields.
I've seen pictures that farmers have videoed on their phones where fields were actually flooded and it was actually floating the potatoes out of the field.
Louisiana has two destinations for its potatoes: the fresh market, which is directly to retailers and consumers, and the processing market, which is mainly for French fries. Despite the storms, growers like Black Gold Farms are having a good season.
From a fresh market standpoint, we've had good quality. The size has been good. Our pack out's been good on all of our 2020 crop.
Many of the growers in the northeast region of the state are growing potatoes for the processing market. Growing for this market involves less cost and less risk to the grower.
You still got your storage costs, you still got your packing costs, you still got your shipping costs, your box charges. You add some other costs that normally once you dig the potatoes and send them to the processing plant, other than if you got a storage contract with them, you're basically through with the crop.
Growing sweet potatoes in Louisiana can be challenging because of insects, diseases, and more than 50 inches of rain in a typical year. The plant itself is unique.
You know, it's in the morning glory family, so it's basically a weed, but and about the time you think you get it figured out, it goes and throws you a curveball.
The harvest is nearly 75% complete, and it is expected to be finished in the next 10 to 14 days. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gocho reporting.
This year, Louisiana has approximately 6,700 acres of sweet potatoes. That's much lower than what farmers planted in 2000. 20 years ago, Louisiana had more than 27,000 acres of sweet potatoes. With 3 hurricane landfalls since August 27th, plus a pandemic and low market prices, Louisiana's farmers and ranchers have been under a lot of stress. Mental health is a very important issue that is not often discussed, and in rural areas, mental health care can be hard to access. This is what farmers and ranchers are dealing with following hurricanes Laura, Delta, and Zeta, a situation where their home may be destroyed along with their livelihood. It's stress on top of stress, while also dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic.
You know, there just kind of seems to be this never-ending additions of stress, and folks in rural communities are hit extremely hard, and farmers who are using the land for their livelihood are going through day-to-day uncertainties on whether or not they will be able to have that livelihood in another week, get through, and a month or 3 weeks later have to go through that same again.
Raymond Tucker is an assistant professor of psychology at LSU. He says there are signs that stress could be taking a toll on someone's mental health. If
Somebody seems to be preparing for death, like getting their affairs in order sort of out of the blue. So this could be something like creating a will out of nowhere, without discussing with family and friends, they just create one. It's sort of anything like that where they seem to maybe be preparing for their death. It could mean that they're thinking about killing themselves. Any big behavior changes, like increase of alcohol use that's really not like the person, being more socially withdrawn, or a lot of anger. Actually, we don't always think that a lot of anger and frustration could be a sign for suicide, but it definitely can, particularly in men.
There's research that shows those who survived a hurricane or received the effects from it, 30 to 40% develop post-traumatic stress disorder.
Katie Corcoran is the executive director of the Louisiana Rural Mental Health Alliance, a group that connects rural residents with mental health providers. It's not an easy task.
Louisiana is facing a huge shortage of licensed mental health professionals. Currently, we have 1 licensed mental health professional to every 340 citizens in Louisiana. And so that definitely impacts our rural areas more so than our urban. The distance between where a person lives and the closest practitioner can be sometimes up to 200, 300 miles.
I hate to say it because we're talking about it, but it's a bit of a perfect storm there. We have a stigma. We have low access to care. It may take an hour to get to an office and may not have the right sort of insurance coverages, which a lot of people don't, but particularly in rural areas, they don't. So the finances become more of a burden to get the care somebody needs.
And in times like these, both Tucker and Corcoran say one of the best things we can do is check in on one another.
Check on your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to your family, but like if you see somebody down the road, you know, wave at them, stop and roll down your window. How are you doing? Because we're in Louisiana, you know, we love people. We love community. We love being around everyone. As long as we're doing it safely, you know, in these unprecedented times, but we just need to connect. Rather than social media, we need that interpersonal connection.
The Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation has a webpage with a list of mental health resources focused on rural and farmer mental health. You'll find a link on our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, a little something that unites all of us regardless of elections. But first, a little farmers market analysis with a certified chef. Stay with us. Cooler temperatures have arrived, and that means a new selection of fruits and vegetables at your local farmers markets. Chef Celeste Gill walked TWILA's Jennifer Finley through the Baton Rouge Red Stick Farmers Market with her shopping list, which included lemongrass, eggplant, citrus, honey, greens, figs, shrimp, grits, persimmons, and pecan pie. Hungry yet?
Making a blackened shrimp Benedict. You need some eggs? We are making hollandaise sauce. I have lemon juice, a little bit of seasoning. I put my special blend in here, egg yolks. All right, now we're coming this way.
Blackened Benedict.
Naya, there you go. Okay, done. Good morning, everybody. I'm Chef Celeste, and we're here at Chef Celeste Bistro at the Red Stick Farmers Market. It's a nice, crisp, cool day, and we just finished making up a lot of breakfast, and we're about to head outside to see what we have to offer. Let's go. Lemongrass. Now you can cook with this. You make some really good soup. Lemongrass, lemon thyme. I like that. And some flat leaf parsley. Now, I think that would be the making of a good soup. I really do. So, come on, come on. We have our citrus over here. It is that time of year. Yes, you have your citrus, you have your eggplant out here. I definitely have to pick up my honey. And look at the greens. They are so vibrant. You see those over there? I mean, the colors just pop this time of year. So for me, I like to stop at almost every stall and just see what they have, pick up something. Yes, even including the wine. So we have some nice ones for holiday giving or just because. Now we have to turn around here for a second. He has the duck eggs out. So they're in the back there. You can get some of those and make a nice duck egg omelet. Now that would be awesome. Oh, that coffee smells good. Hey, Lisa. And then it's just like a family reunion when you come down here because you see a little bit of everybody. I get my gelato on the way back. Hi there, good morning. Good morning. Sweets. This is where I get my grits for the famous shrimp and grits, right here. Flowers. Okay. All-time favorite. Gotta get in line. How you doing? Figs. They have the figs, they have the persimmons. This is Mr. Buddy right here. And his famous pecan pies. We have the green onions over here. Look at all this stuff here. This is where you should be coming to get your fruits and vegetables, your seafood, your meat from the inside. Like I always say, save the grocery store for your toiletries, okay? So we have bread, we have more eggs, we have our milk, we have a half and half. Like we actually come here every Saturday morning and pick up our half and half that we use for the coffee that we sell. So yes, we use a lot of our products here from the farmers market, and that's what you should do. What would you suggest that they buy from you if they're coming for the first time?
For the first time?
Mm-hmm.
Shrimp.
Shrimp. Hence, okay, you got shrimp, you have grits, shrimp and grits, okay? There you go. Yes. All right. And don't forget the cheese. I'm gonna give you a little secret to the best charcuterie board you're ever gonna make. You're gonna get your crostini from over here, then you need that one.
$4.
You need this one.
Let's do it.
Your cheese board will never be the same. You can't have a cheese board without coming here to the market and getting your cheese, okay?
And so this is
They always have beautiful things over here. There's always innovation down here, new products to come and try, so it never gets old. I had one of the guys this morning, a customer, he was eating eggs, and he was so excited. And he said, I've been coming here for years, eating your breakfast, and he has at least 15 to 16 years. And he said it never gets old. With all this talking, I'm making myself hungry, but I can't eat yet. I have to go back in here. So come on over, get yourself a loaded omelet, get a Benedict or something, and pick up some of my seasonings because that's new to the market also. And just enjoy yourselves and have a great day.
Yeah, definitely hungry now. For more information on local farmers markets in your area, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, United We Sit at the dinner table. Stay with us. This year's presidential election has been contentious, to say the least, and it may have made you feel like we're divided as a country. As presidential historian John Meacham said, division is part of the oxygen of democracy, but democracies depend on empathy. If we can't see each other as neighbors, we're not going to make it. With that idea in mind, there is at least one factor that unites us all: food. We all need to eat, and we all rely on agriculture. So let's take a moment to stop and salute all the farmers and ranchers across the country who work hard to keep us fed and keep America moving forward. If you ate today, thank a farmer. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you what back-to-back storms did to Beauregard Parish's timber industry. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, turn those notifications on so you know when we put something out. For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.